I've been general overseer for some 5 years. I've tried everything. Church wasn't growing. I would do Bible study. I would do special seminar. I will fast. I will pray. The church just refused to grow. Then I heard of a man in South Korea called Yonggi Cho. And they told me he has the largest church in the world. So I said, I better go and see him.
One of the challenges of the Jerusalem system in the church in Nigeria is that organizations, massive, high-class organizations, were set up. These organizations are the biggest in the world in terms of Christian organizations. So when we went to Ghana, we wanted to set up a branch of our ministry in Ghana. And then the pastor came to me and asked me, after the series of meetings that we held in different places, so how are we, this is the question, how are we going to build this organization? I said, bro, you are not here to build any organization. In fact, don't build an organization.
Here is Pastor E.A. Adeboye, a leading figure in the massive church growth in the entire world. Let's listen to what he has to say in this video.
Then I heard of a man in South Korea called Yonggi Cho. And they told me he has the largest church in the world. So I said, I better go and see him. And we went. And for the first time in my life, I heard a pastor say with his mouth from the pulpit, please, those of you who have come to church today, don't come next Sunday. Because he was holding 7 services on Sunday. His auditorium could hold about 50,000 people. And so he's saying to those because you can't come in this Sunday, don't come next Sunday, so that the others who could not come this Sunday will be able to come next Sunday. I said, God, I am praying that people will come. Here is somebody who is begging that those who come this Sunday should not come next Sunday. And he told us his secret prayer. And they took us to a mountain, which is his prayer mountain. Big mountain. And they dug little holes into the mountain. People can crawl inside and pray. There's no room to stand. You either kneel or you lie flat on your face. And they took all of us, because we came from all over the world, they took all of us to that mountain to go and pray. I knew why I came. I crawled into one of the mountains, and there were thousands of people in other little caves. And so the hill, he said, was vibrating from the prayer of so many people. And I wanted to return home, Almighty God, to see my church grow. And I began to pray, and I forgot time. I apologize. By the time I realized what was happening, hours had passed. And the people who came with me were waiting for me in the bus. The only reason they didn't go without me was because I was the only black man there. So they knew somebody was missing. When finally I showed up, they were very upset. What's wrong with you? Why did you delay us so much? I said, I'm sorry, I thought we came here to pray. They said, are you going to pray everything in one day? I said, I'm sorry. They were so upset with me that they didn't talk to me all the way back to town. And I was very glad, because my spirit was still roaring. I was still praying, even though I wasn't praying out aloud. I cried to God that there must be a revival in my nation. My church must grow. Some years ago, I was back in South Korea. This time, I was able to meet that great man, Yonggi Cho. And And when I got to his office, and I was trying to tell him the story about what happened, etc., he said, no, I've heard about you. He said, could you please pray for me? So we joined our hands and we prayed.
What you've just listened to is the background story of one of the largest revival church movements that has ever existed and is still existing, especially in the African space. You can always recognize this great man of God anywhere you find him, as he's responsible for the establishment of all the several Pentecostal churches that can be seen around the whole world. Before we go to the next video, let us look at the fastest growing Pentecostal church that is controlled by one of the youngest pastors, Pastor Emmanuel Iron.
Listen, the goal wasn't to have a big church. The goal was souls. We didn't obey because we wanted to be successful. We didn't obey. Do you understand what I'm saying? We are really serious about this vision. And that's why, despite all the great things God has done, we still look and say we have just begun. Because the vision is 1 billion souls in 10,000 cities. If you were a businessman, if you had maybe this much, you can consider yourself a success. But when it comes to souls, I've told you this before, one soul lost is too much. Paul the apostle, talking about all the perils he went through, perils of robbers. When we moved into the city of Abuja, we didn't even have enough money, to get a house in a very secure location. And the place we chose to stay, one day robbers came. And it's still a mystery to you today. I never really considered myself that brave, but just the thought, my wife and kids, I met them at the door. Just let's handle it. I met them at the door. I said, take whatever you want and go. I know you're expecting me to say fire, or something. I wish that's not just how it happened that time. So when Paul says in perils of robbers, you now know that they went through these things. He said in fastings often, and he says in hunger often. So when he's talking about hunger, it wasn't fasting. It means he was broke at some point. I remember one time, we didn't have enough money. For the first time, I was pushed to want to put on the workers' WhatsApp group and say, you know what, if you have anything, if the Lord touches your heart, just for the first time, my wife just held my hand and said, don't worry, don't do it.
If you paid attention to Apostle Aaron, you realize his zeal and committedness towards planting churches around the world. 1 billion souls in 10,000 cities. To collaborate further, let's listen to what Apostle Arome Osayi has to say about this.
We have had a massive Jerusalem experience which have produced so many denominations littered across the nation. But unfortunately, as massive and as wealthy as most of our centers are, it lacks a vital ingredient that will give it the potential of stirring up the purpose of God. First ingredient that it lacked is the apostolic vision. You see, there was an orientation Jesus gave the functionaries. Are you with me? Now, the orientation Jesus gave the functionaries was not about the size of an organization. The emphasis was not to build an organization. The emphasis was to build a people. So when we went to Ghana, we wanted to set up a branch of our ministry in Ghana. And then the pastor came to me and asked me, after the series of meetings that we held in different places, so how are we, this is the question, how are we going to build this organization? I said, bro, you are not here to build any organization. In fact, don't build an organization, build people. Then if after 4 years of building people, you still have an organizational question, you can bring it. Let us start with people. One of the challenges of the Jerusalem system in the church in Nigeria is that organizations, massive, high-class organizations, were set up. These organizations are the biggest in the world in terms of Christian organizations. But you see, we can take a cue from such organizations that were built in places like Europe. Such organizations were built in places like the United States of America. If you see the state of some of these nations now, it doesn't look as if there was any strong Christianity at any point in time, because the emphasis became organizational. All right, so big systems. So people are laboring to keep systems alive. You will hear a pastor say, no matter how I go around and preach, on Sunday I must be back. Because that's what his senior pastor told him. A builder of systems.
In this video, as we just witnessed, Apostle Arome Osaye seeks to introduce a newer approach than that which we've had prior to church roots. His approach seemed to have helped several ones of them. As far as we are concerned, some of these mega churches include the Living Faith Church, RCCG, Lighthouse Chapel, Delgwood Mills, Bright Angels Spirit Life Embassy, Dunamis Gospel International Center, Salvation Ministries, United Family Church, Mountain of Fire Miracle Ministry, Deeper Life Bible Church, Christ Embassy, Omega Fire Ministries, Dominion City Worldwide by Pastor David Ogbeli. These other churches are being criticized for their styles of church growth. Some are termed as aggressive, some are termed as only the word, some are termed different things. So after watching this video, we've been able to identify reasons why churches choose to open subsidiary branches all around. As establishing new branches not only makes the church spread wider, but also helps to bring in a new round of members from different parts of the world. Multiple branches also help churches to engage with other communities, thereby enhancing the possibilities to address specific needs that are peculiar to people of certain territory. Opening of church branches also help to expand the scope of a church's geographical presence, thereby helping other individuals around who may be very far away from the headquarters. Hi viewers, let us know what you think about these videos. Drop your comments, and thank you for watching.